Welcome on this Friday afternoon in the US, Friday evening back home in the UK, and Friday, whatever it is around the world. I'm sure we've got viewers from Europe and whatnot. But welcome, guys. Welcome, people, to another Sports Unplugged show. Today, I've got my usual co-host, Conor. Conor, how are we?
Very well, thank you. Enjoying this lovely Friday evening. How about yourself? You good?
Yeah, good. So I got into Vegas last night, and after an 8-hour drive, we checked in, had a bit of dinner, and as it is wrestling weekend and boxing weekend as well, I had to get the number one source of information in the wrestling world and in the boxing world. Mr. Louis Dangoor, how are we?
I'm good. Don't know about number one source in boxing, but I'll take it. Number one in wrestling, I'll also take. Busy weekend for me. Kind of from Friday night to Sunday night. So it should be a busy time. But thank you very much, guys, for having me on.
Brilliant. And Louis, just to confirm, obviously the kick gives it away, but you're a big Liverpool fan, aren't you?
I'm a big Liverpool fan. Yeah, I've been, for as long as I can remember, Liverpool mad, football mad. Big Liverpool fan. Honestly, it's last few years, it's just been crazy to be a Liverpool fan. And just like, when you grow out of all your hobbies as you grow up, just this has been the one thing that I've just not grown out of. This and wrestling, really. But yeah, absolutely love it.
And Louis, just to remind you and just to reiterate, Conor up there on my right is a Chelsea fan, so you can give him as much shit as you want because he deserves it. But he's actually quite complimentary though of Liverpool fans. So
if we were sitting here this time last year, I would have been giving you so much crap. But I'm actually a bit worried about Chelsea this year. So I don't want to say too much, especially on camera, that can then be like screen recorded and repeated.
Well, that's the time that you give the most shit is when you're most concerned, which is why I've been complimentary of Liverpool. Because to be honest, lads, you're not really a threat this year. We'll put it that way.
I love how you smart talk now. Three shows and you're so comfortable now, isn't it?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
We'll get there gradually. You'll see the real me soon enough.
I like it this way.
Kev O'Sullivan is one of the regulars and who actually did a watch along for the first game of the season last weekend. Absolute great stuff. What time's kickoff over there? Tomorrow's game, Abby. So tomorrow I'm literally waking up literally 2:45, showering and getting to McMullen's pub in Vegas outside the Strip for the Liverpool game, which kicks off at 4:30 in the morning. So I'll be having a few Guinnesses straight away. Then
it's going to be a busy day for you.
It is literally. I've got like an afternoon gap. I'm meeting a few people in the afternoon, and then straight away I've got to get to the Allegiant Stadium for obviously SummerSlam, and then hoping SummerSlam finishes at 7:30. So I can sort of quickly get to the T-Mobile Arena for the Pacquiao fight. So it's gonna be manic, but it's okay. My wife's staying away tomorrow. She's got something going on with her friends out in Vegas. So I've actually got the day full of sports tomorrow. But guys, we are gonna get into it, and obviously we always start off the show with footballing news. And tomorrow is a big one for us. The fans, the COP will be in full swing, back in attendance at Anfield. I want to come to you first, Conor. How big is it for, especially a club of Liverpool's size, and especially when you know that they literally act like the 12th man? How big is it for us fans to have to have Liverpool fans back in the stadium?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hugely important. I think the importance of fans as that 12th man can't really be overstated, and I think we saw that a lot last season, both for the viewer and for the player as well. Everyone's kind of fed back the same sort of opinion that the entire experience wasn't the same without fans. So I think it's going to have a huge impact on player morale. It's going to have a huge impact on how the games progress, whether there's going to be sort of more comebacks because you got that 12th man urging the team on. I think you'll see a bit more of that. And I think that point is really sort of driven home by the fact that last week, in the opening match week, there were only two teams that didn't win that were at home, and that was Norwich.
Oh, is his internet gone?
His internet has gone for me.
Isn't it gone? Norwich, he was talking about the Norwich game. Conor?
Yeah.
It should be me with the Wi-Fi issues today, but it's you. Yeah, go on. You're talking about Norwich.
Disappear? Good.
Yeah, no, you're okay. You're okay. Hello. Yes, okay, go on. Carry on. Just carry on.
Yeah. Just again, give me a shout if I disappear because everything was flowing nicely for me. But I'll resume.
It might be a good thing that you disappear forever, but yeah, go on.
Hey, come on. I was complimenting you guys. I was going to say,
carry on.
Norwich and Newcastle were the only two teams that lost last week. And you know, the only two teams at home, that lost last week. And you can kind of understand why. You know, you've got two big clubs going for those sort of top 4, top 6 spaces, playing against Liverpool, West Ham, that sort of team. So understandable that they were the only two teams that lost at home. But it does reinforce the point that maybe home advantage is going to be more significant this season, considering the fans are back.
Yeah, Louis, are you in the same sort of agreement with what Conor's saying? Like, you know, fans are so pivotal for us. You know, the 6 games that we had a spell last season where we just lost 6 on the trot, and I think there was 1 draw including that. Just, you think that if we had the fans, especially with what went on with Klopp, the personal issues through with Alisson, you just thought the fans would have sort of like really sort of geared these players up and G'd them up for a result, and maybe results would have been different. But again, to you, how pivotal are the fans? And there's a quicker message from Kieran Thorne, who's one of the regulars, who's a very close friend of mine. Can't wait to be in Anfield tomorrow, even with the Burnley fans. That's what it means. You know, Liverpool fans going to be like sat with Burnley fans because they just want to get into the ground for the first game of the season. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at least we can sell out our stadium, unlike some teams over the last few days that we've seen. But it's huge for Liverpool. We are Liverpool fans, so we're going to be biased. But I don't think it's wrong to say like we probably would have been impacted one of the most in the league by not having fans there. I think that's how, like, you speak to anyone. Like, I think if the Barcelona game, like the second leg, if say it was in COVID times and that had to be played in front of no fans, like, we don't win that game. And I just think that the Liverpool fans, especially at Anfield, can't be like their influence can't be overstated. So for me, yeah, it's huge to have them back. I think just even like when you do a good run, just like the clap of the crowd or like the cheer of the crowd is just so important. So yeah, I think it's going to be great to have them back, and I'm hoping that like Mane and Firmino, even Trent to an extent, who didn't have the best season last year, will really enjoy having the fans back. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. It just makes it more enjoyable to watch.
It does.
So
it does.
So do you guys think that there was it could potentially explain the fact that Liverpool did have that mid-season collapse? Obviously, everybody knows, well reported, that sort of 6-game stint. Do you think that was the most significant factor in explaining that was a lack of fans, or was it something to do with, you know, tactically, you know, Manny not firing, something, you know, maybe the opposition worked?
The fact we had no defenders.
Yeah, but you know, other teams have experienced similar injury crises over the pandemic.
I don't think to the extent Liverpool did. Like, I mean, I worked this out, right? And at a point, we had the players that would have been our 6 best centre backs out, right? That is like City having Diaz, Laporte, Ake, Stones, Fernandinho, and like Walker or Rodri out. Like, that's a big miss. It's like United last year having Maguire, Twanzebe, Bailly, Lindelof. Like, any team would struggle without those centre backs. And it's not only like not having Fabinho there. Well, like when he played in defence, everyone's like, oh, okay, that's fine. But like, no, because that means we don't have that defensive midfielder stability, which means the fullbacks can't get as high, which is a main source of our creativity. And you kind of look at things. What I noticed last year was fans looked at things in quite like a binary way. It was like, right, you're not scoring goals, but your defenders are injured, so that it's not the same thing. And it's like, no. The whole like balance of the team was off, and I think not having fans there would have been a factor. And the fact like the players that were injured were the likes of Van Dijk, Milner, and Henderson, who are obviously leaders as well. So you're not only missing the fans' voices, you're missing the players' voices on the pitch. But no, I think the majority and the root cause of it would all have been injuries, to be honest.
Sure. And I don't think that we can discount the impact of injuries for sure. But I just think the way that you know, losing run extended, do you think that could have been overturned quicker had there been fans in the stadium? Because, you know, injuries were obviously a significant contributor. You can't discount that. But you guys were reigning champions and you lost 6 in a row at home. You know, that's a pretty significant streak that I think, obviously there are some significant sort of factors in there, but I think it could have been turned around, in my personal view, despite the injury crisis, had some things been different, including fans being present.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's all what ifs. Like, you don't know. Would fans have made a difference? Sure. But I think fundamentally, and more often than not, the best team wins. The team that's playing the best will win. And will fans have an impact on that? Yeah, but I think not having centre backs that kind of outweighs that. And I think if we had, for example, like if everyone was fit but no fans, I don't think we would have struggled. But if we had everyone with the injuries we had, but fans back, I think we still would have struggled. But maybe not to the same extent. Like I do 100% get what you're saying. Like that confidence back, maybe you can see out a game that we would have drawn or lost to a late goal. Like it is definitely a valid point, but I think you've just got you just got to see like kind of how things go. But what people don't appreciate about Liverpool, and I kind of said this on shows I've been on, was we were the best team in the league last year for the majority of last season.
If you look at rhythms of play from the first sort of 2-3 months, apart from the Villa game, going into January, so going into December, we were top of the league once we beat.
So for the first half of the league, we were top, which is 19 games, and then for the last 10, we were unbeaten. So that's 29 games where Liverpool, where if you look at it, we're top of the league. Like I know it doesn't work that way, but we were for the majority of the season, I think, the best team in the league. Personally.
Some claim that.
I think it's a bold claim, and I think it's
probably an incorrect claim. In fairness,
well, I mean, yes, you were top for a significant period towards the start of the season, but to me, it always looked unsustainable this year, and I mean that came to fruition. I think last year is a very difficult season to analyze because there was no real consistent form until it hit the business end of the season. This is obviously a hugely COVID-influenced year. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to analyse. But I think it is a bit of a reach to say Liverpool were the best team for the majority of the season. I think they had a good start. And, of course, recency bias affects people's perception of things. But I think City were the deserved winners and they were the best team.
A million percent. But, I mean, if you look at the first, even say first 10 games and last 10 games, where we won the majority, right? That's still like 20 games out of 38. So still over half the season. Like, yes, City were deserving winners, and at no point am I going to say Liverpool should have won the league because we shouldn't. But to finish third when we basically didn't pick up any points from January to like April is pretty impressive, I think. Shows how good the rest of the season was for Liverpool, that we basically took 3 months off and were still able to get top four.
I think just to come into this, I think because there was, we were languishing in like 5th, 6th towards the end, and people were like, they're not going to get top four. Some, on our Daytrippers claimed that we weren't going to get top four. Don't want to say nothing, but Grizz Khan. But look, we finished third in a season where we shouldn't have got top four with the injuries, with the state of play, with everything that was going around, the scenarios, everything that was going around with the squad. To get third, look. We're Liverpool Football Club. It's not the greatest achievement, but to come third, get Champions League football, that was pivotal for us. Coming to this season with a fully fresh squad, everyone's fully fit at the moment. Touch wood, there's no knocks that I believe going into tomorrow's game. So, finishing third, getting Champions League football, that was pivotal. And obviously, we've made, and I want to come into this next point, Louis. Obviously, Konate's come in. Do you believe that we will do business, one more player in? And what's your realistic sort of expectations of the season?
Again, I think I might be slaughtered for this take, but I'm not really too bothered if we do business or not, because I think if you look at say, yes, City have made Grealish big signing. Chelsea have brought in Lukaku. United have brought in Varane and Sancho, but Liverpool, getting Van Dijk back is like a new signing. Getting Fabinho in the 6th for the season is like a new signing. Getting Thiago playing with him is like a new signing. I think that each team is going in with a solid base, and I don't think Konate is one for this season. I don't think he'll play much this season in the league.
Wow! So
I think he's comfortably 4th choice.
So your first choice would be, because my first choice will always be the title winning one, majority of it, which is Van Dijk and Gomez. But I know a lot overrule me and say, so you think it's Van Dijk and Matip? That's fine. No.
I think
it's all about
Matip
opinions. Yeah,
is genuinely top 10 centre back in the world when he's fit.
I think he's. I genuinely think he's in the top sort of top 6. Top 6, top 5. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like Matip, but my frustration is even at Schalke, he would get injured. And someone who averages 15 games a season, Laura Duffy might correct me if I'm wrong, it's not good enough. But if he can stay fit, then yeah, that's fair enough. He's vying for that first place, 100%.
Thing. And that's why we bought Konate in, because he is a fourth choice. He's much better than like Reece Williams and Nat Phillips were. Like he's very good, and he'll be one for the future, 100%. I just don't know how much he'll play this year. But yeah, I'd still go for Matip, but I'm happy with bringing him in. I think he's a great signing. I think if Shaqiri and Origi leave, we will make a signing. But I think just Shaqiri leaves. I think Origi stays, and I don't think we make a signing between now and the end of the window.
Does that mean Harvey Elliott stays then? If Shaqiri leaves and no one comes in? Or does Harvey Elliott stay
I think Harvey Elliott will stay regardless. I think Klopp's shown over pre-season that he really likes Harvey Elliott. Came off the bench against Norwich. I think with Klopp, he doesn't really like loans. Like Curtis Jones wasn't on loan last year, when he probably some might have put him on loan. Like he was just like, you know what, play him, and like when he can play and just have him around the first team. So I think yes, I think Harvey Elliott will stay, irrespective of if Shaqiri leaves or not.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. But,
I'm just going to say I'm really confident that we get one in. Shaq will leave hopefully, and we'll get one in. We'll get one.
Who do you think?
You know, there's loads of names being bandied about Louis. I'm going to do the biggest hot take that there is, and I've been saying it all summer. I think we'll get Mbappé. And people can laugh. And people in the comments will say, Avi, please get off the weed gummies or get off the other stuff that I might be having in Vegas. But no, I genuinely think there might be something in there. Maybe not, as we think, because he scored today as well for PSG against Brest. But look, I want Mbappé. Well, yeah, it should be I want Mbappé. I think our fans are entitled to have an Mbappé at the club as well. When you see what other clubs are doing, I think there should be a chance to get Kylian Mbappé at Liverpool Football Club. So for me, it would be Mbappé. Realistically, I really don't know. Louis.
I think it'll be a signing that none of us are even thinking
about. There's talk of Ismail Assar last few days. Yeah.
It'll be something that we just don't see. But on the Mbappé thing, I said this at the beginning of the window. I think he's one of our most realistic signings for the summer, purely because people like FSG won't pay for that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand how FSG work, right? Yeah. FSG will look at Mbappé as like a global superstar that they can make money on. Like the shirt sales you get from him from Nike, the deals you'd get. Like he is a signing of like superstar potential that FSG would see as an investment, as opposed to buying someone just for a football team. So I could see it, feasibly could see it.
Brilliant. Conor, do you think? Sorry, I was going to ask you, Conor.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors going around about Mbappé and his attitude and his temperament and that sort of thing. I really do struggle to see how anyone could be in a position that he's in, with Lionel Messi, most likely the undisputed best player in history, coming in to his side to play with him, and you wouldn't even consider it for a season. To me, that seems nonsensical. But there is very rarely smoke without fire. And the fact that there are all these stories coming out, there were issues around the Euros about his relationship with Giroud, and whether he was selfless enough for Mbappé. All signs point to Mbappé having this significant ego and wanting to be the big star at a club.
Conor, it's an ego that Klopp would iron out, though. Klopp would iron that out.
You can't iron out an ego. Like Kylian Mbappé.
He's 20.
He's going to be the best player in the world.
Yeah, but Conor is 22 years old. He's 22 years old. A move to Liverpool right now is the perfect move for him. Going to Real Madrid, going under a sinking ship, which it is literally, when you see the amount of players that are available, from Vinicius to Rodrigo, Varane has left, Ramos has left. Why would you join that project? A project like Liverpool, where Klopp can say to him, look, your next 3 years, give me your next 3 years and I'll turn you into an absolute worldie, right? He's bordering on world class right now, but an absolute worldie. Go and do some serious numbers. Go and win league titles. Go and win potentially a Champions League or two at Liverpool, and then go and get your dream at Real Madrid. Our club is perfectly suited for him. The style of football is perfectly suited for him. Him going to Real Madrid right now, it will do nothing for him. I promise you, if Real Madrid get this deal over the line for him, which I don't believe they will, if they happen to get some funding from Spanish governments and whatnot for this Mbappé deal, he won't become the player that we all think that he should be. He won't. I promise you that he won't. Carlos Ancelotti, he won't be there beyond this summer. Next summer, I mean, he won't be there beyond next summer. He's there just to like steady the ship, get them to fight for a bit of the title. But I don't even think they're favorites. Atletico are favorites. The La Liga is in a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think Liverpool Football Club right now, the Premiership, the whole sort of model, the Premiership is with Chelsea, City, United, Liverpool. It should be appealing. It should be appealing to him 100%.
Sure.
But guys, we're gonna have to move this along, Conor, and I know we can go back and forth on the Mbappé stuff.
We'll revisit next week.
We will revisit. So our next topic I wanted to bring is literally a Premiership roundup. We're just gonna quickly eye-catching games. So tomorrow we'll go with the big one first. Louis, just a score prediction: Liverpool versus Burnley.
2-0 for me. Salah to score one, maybe two. I think it should be quite comfortable.
Conor?
Yeah, same for me. I think it's going to be a comfortable victory at Anfield. First game with the fans back. I hope that Salah scores if Liverpool do win. Got him captained on fantasy. More on that later. And I remember seeing a stat earlier on Twitter that Salah is significantly better when it's raining. Rain is forecast for Liverpool tomorrow. So, fingers crossed. He can do a madness. But yeah, comfortable 4-0 victory.
So where did you hear that from? Where did you hear that stat from?
It was on Twitter. Basically, it's sort of your non-penalty expected goals. Someone can sort of correlated it with the weather conditions. And apparently,
I think that's
performed significantly better.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for you it's embarrassing for you to even put that out. Conor, I think there's a slight sound lag on yours. Louis, are you getting the same thing from Conor's?
No, he's all good for me.
Right, he's all good. Okay, brilliant. I'm gonna go with. Sorry, what did you say, Conor, about the Liverpool Burnley game? Did you say 3-0?
4-0.
4-0. I'm gonna go with 4 as well. I think Salah will turn up tomorrow. I think he'll score. I think he'll score 2. I'm going for another player. I'm gonna go for Minamino. I'm probably go for Minamino all weeks, just because I love the player. So I'm gonna go for the Minamino, and I think Virgil will score tomorrow from a corner. I've got a funny feeling that Virgil will score tomorrow, but I want to go with 4-0. Next game, Conor, I know club of your interest, Chelsea away to Arsenal. They've made another significant transfer. I wish Chris Pratt was on because Aaron Ramsdale. What do you make of this? Yeah, I thought as much. What do you make of the transfer? And do you think Arsenal can get a result at the Emirates? It will be a hostile Emirates. You do believe it will be hostile, won't you? Because of the way the ownership, the management right now, the uncertainty with the club, the signings. How do you see this game going?
Well, I think it depends on how the early stages go. So I think if Chelsea get an early goal, I think it could become very hostile and the floodgates could open. But I think much depends on the early stages. But for me, I think it will be a quite cagey game. I think Chelsea have struggled against Arsenal in recent years, contrary to what's happened in sort of the last 10 years ago to 5 years ago, that sort of period. We just seem to absolutely steamroll them every single time. They had that sort of inferiority complex against us. But I think it will be a Chelsea win. I think Lukaku does start. Is
it just me, or does he look a lot leaner than he did at United?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when he joined, I know at United, he had a lot of nutritional problems. And when he joined Inter, the first thing that Conte said was, right, we're looking at your diet. I know Conte's very big on fitness and nutrition. And he said, right, we're looking at your diet. And they diagnosed him with some kind of digestion problem. He can't digest a certain form of carbohydrate or something. I'm pulling that out of my ass. But he has some kind of digestion problem. Plant-based diet, as Barry says, who knows? Yeah, but I know
we all know that Naby Keita is on plant-based diet at the moment, so seems to be working for him. Well, he's staying fit. He's staying fit. Probably starts tomorrow. So yeah, he's got another 2 games to go to beat his personal best of 4 games in a row. So touch wood.
Yeah, but you're right. Lukaku does look leaner, and I think he's matured a lot in his game, both in terms of his sort of in-game intelligence and the way he handles himself on the pitch technically. So I think. I think he will start. I don't know if he'll score, but I think it'll be a tight game. I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea. Louis, Arsenal, Chelsea?
I've got a weird feeling Arsenal winning, and I can't explain why or how or anything like that. I could see Arsenal just getting a 1-0 win.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's happened in recent years. It's been absolutely unexplainable, but Arsenal have managed to nick wins against us. I remember the season that Conte absolutely steamrolled the league, and we got those we got 30 wins and we got 13 in a row. And it was Arsenal against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, and everyone just said, look, I can't see past Chelsea. They're an absolute juggernaut. Arsenal won 2 seasons ago. Chelsea Arsenal again in the FA Cup final. We were the favourites. Arsenal won. Last season under Tuchel, we were on an amazing run. Arsenal won. So it's pretty unpredictable, but we'll just have to see what Sunday provides us with.
I'm going to be fair and say I think it'll be a draw, Conor. I think it will be a draw. I think it'll be a 1-1. I think you'll score first. And I can see. I'm just wondering whether Arsenal might set them up as a 3-5-2. I'm just thinking whether he sets up maybe 3 centre backs and then go with maybe Tierney on the left and then Bellerin on the right. Or he might
play Tierney as a left centre back.
Left centre back, yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that's something that could happen. I saw the Arteta press conference today, and he mentioned, maybe he gave a slight hint suggesting that he's sort of thinking up ways to combat Chelsea's strengths. Obviously, our strengths are from out wide, numerical advantages out wide. So I think those sort of numerical overloads in wide positions could suggest that he is going to a back 5. But we shall see. I think it will just be a case of Arteta tinkering too much and thinking he's the professor, that sort of thing, doing a Pep masterstroke.
Well, he beat you in the cup final, didn't he? A couple of seasons ago, he beat you in the cup final.
Double last season.
Yep,
that's true. But they were on that post-managerial bounce, purple patch. This is when we fully embedded our new squad. Big Rom up top. I struggled to see him getting anything, especially in hostile Emirates, as you mentioned. But, anything can happen, especially in Chelsea versus Arsenal. We've seen there can be very unpredictable futures in recent years.
Nice one. Scouring through quickly. Wolves versus Spurs. Nuno back at Molineux. Louis, how do you see this one?
Probably a boring 0-0, to be honest. I thought
I think prediction.
Both are going to play boring, negative football. I've got zero interest. I don't think Kane plays either. So I think both are in a holding pattern with the new managers, still trying to figure things out. I think Spurs played well last week against Wolves. I'll give them that. Against City, sorry. But again, kind of scored not a lucky goal, but it's like it wasn't due like a well worth bit of play. It was a moment of brilliance. So I do think a 0-0, to be honest.
Conor?
Yeah, exactly the same. As I mentioned, I think Louis stolen my prediction there. We discussed it ahead of time. He's nicked it from me. In a word, shite, to be honest. I think it will be pretty poor as a game. Nuno always sets up with the back 5, although he didn't last game against City, which I found interesting. He sort of compressed them quite narrow, which we've seen is quite an effective way to combat City. But yeah, for me, it'll be a 0-0. I agree with Louis that I don't think Kane will play. You're right. They scored from, I know you said sort of a fluke shot or something. I think, it was a low XG sort of probability shot. So, the chances of that happening, when you've got Son in your team, you can score from anywhere and you can score from any kind of chance. So I would sort of avoid discounting him. Maybe they'll get a scrappy 1-0 again. But yeah, all signs for me point to a 0-0 and a very dull game of that.
I'm going with a 2-1 Spurs. I think Spurs will get a result. I think they're on the up since last weekend when they beat City. I think it's that new manager effect, isn't it? A new manager comes in with fresh ideas. And Nuno's football can be pragmatic at times, boring at the best of times. But I think he'll get a tune out of this Spurs team for the first few months. So I can see him getting a result against Spurs. It will be interesting if I think Kevin O'Sullivan just put it in here as well. Trincao is one that he wants to watch this season. I think is he on loan from Barcelona? Is it a permanent now?
It's with an option to buy.
No, with the option to buy.
Yeah. But it's interesting because they do have Adama. Trincao is traditionally a right winger, so they do have Adama in the same sort of position, and I struggle to see them being complementary in the same team unless they shift Trincao out to the left. Obviously they've got Podence out there, but still a bit of a vacancy where Jota's left. But Trincao, like I say, has traditionally played on the right, so who knows? Lord
have to correct me on the up, except for yesterday. I know they lost their Europa League. Is it a qualifier? Is it? It's a qualifier, isn't it?
I've got to be honest. I think I
don't think anyone gives a shot either.
I'd want to get knocked out as quickly as possible.
A clear run.
That's
Go on, Conor.
It's a trophy, isn't it? It's a trophy, and Spurs need those at all costs. So
no, mate. I mean, like, conference is it a trophy?
I mean, it's got conference in the name, so for goodness' sake, it's not going to have much merit.
No. So what happens if you win the conference? Do you get free a bye to the Europa League next season?
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Yeah. And whoever wins the Europa League gets Champions League football.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, the state of absolute state of it. There used to be a competition back in the 90s, guys, called Cup Winners' Cup. That actually had a lot of that actually had quite a bit of prestige. I think Chelsea won it as well one season, but it was a competition that everyone sort of valued. You had obviously the UEFA Cup, the Champions League, and then you had the Cup Winners' Cup as well. But all these anything with conference on it just seems like third rate, doesn't it? I don't want to be disrespectful to all the conference.
The reason it's such a bad tournament to be in is because of the countries taking part. It's basically to give countries like countries like Armenia and like countries that won't qualify for the Europa League, or like their teams won't qualify for the Europa League and the Champions League shots. So basically, you got to fly all over Europe, and like it's not like I would just pop down to France. It's like fly to Russia and Turkey. Like it's long flights. So that's why, to be honest, I just get out as quickly as possible that tournament. If they get knocked out, I think it could be the best thing for their
countries and cities that you've never heard of. One of those competitions, isn't it, Louis?
Yeah, I just get knocked out as quickly as possible. Honestly, I think it could be the best thing for Tottenham's season.
We're just going to quickly talk on another two games. I know there's a few other games, but we're going to give them a miss because we want to get onto this SummerSlam stuff. Leeds versus Everton. Louis, I'll come to you on this one. Rafa, what have you made of this appointment? Is it one of those, look, good luck to him as long as Everton don't do well, or has it pissed you off like it has?
No. Listen, we didn't offer him a contract that he turned down. He chose Everton over us. He's an Everton. He lives in Liverpool. I understand why he took the appointment. Fair play to him. Good luck to him. I mean, I hope he doesn't do well, obviously. But I mean, like, fair play. I think Leeds, it depends if Calvin Phillips is back, because they're a completely different team if they aren't. I don't know if he is. He was on the bench last week, so I kind of presume he is back. But I'd go for a Leeds win. Probably 2-0, 2-1.
And just to come in, Sam Thandi makes a great point. 2-1 Leeds. The fans will be up for it. It's the first time that the fans are going to be in Ellen Road. That's going to be huge. A club of that stature should never have been away from the Premiership for that long. As long as I think they played in the second division at one stage, before they made it into the Championship. So, I think they got relegated from the Championship, from the first division to the second division, then obviously worked themselves up. But it's great to see Leeds in the Premiership. There's certain teams that are Premiership clubs, Premier League clubs, and Leeds are one of them. I'm going to go for Rafa. I think Rafa will upset the Ellen Road crowd. I think Everton will get a win. I think it'll be a 2-1 Everton. Conor?
Yeah, struggled to see past the home win on this one. Like you say, those Leeds fans are some of the loudest and most passionate in the country. I know it from living in Leeds in the last 4 years. They are sort of vocal in their support for all things Leeds. So I think, I struggle to see past the Leeds victory. I think 2-0. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game despite Leeds' attacking prowess. I think Rafa has typically well-drilled his sides defensively, although it might take time for Everton to get to that stage, and they do lack some sort of key cogs in the defensive machine. I think, he's yet to get to that stage where they're defensively solid enough to keep clean sheets on a consistent basis. So I think, 2-0 Leeds, Patrick Bamford getting in amongst the goals for sure.
And Laura Duffy again. Louis, you probably just want to let you know, Laura Duffy is like the encyclopedia for the Daytrippers. If there's any question that you're worried about during the show, she will come up with the answer. She's got like 6-7 laptops all in one go, all on Google, Wikipedia.
Love that.
Yeah, she's amazing. But she just made a point as well. Everton signed the Liverpool legend that is Andy Lonergan. I think he walked away with the Premiership medal, didn't he? So I think he signed for Everton. It could be because of that homegrown rota stuff that's going on in back home in the Premiership with the homegrown quota. But just another game as well. Southampton versus United. Just a quick score prediction, Louis.
Oh, it's going to be dangerous. I think 4-0 United. Southampton defensively, especially without Vestergaard, are going to be poor. I think it's going to be a really bad season for them. I'm going to go for 4-0 to Southampton.
Conor? Oh, it's 4-0 to Southampton. United.
Sorry.
I was
4-0.
about to say, wow.
4-0, no, 4-0 to United.
You know something that we don't. Oh, Connor?
Yeah. I mean, you've come in with some hot takes already today, but that takes the bacon. Fair play, mate.
4-0 to United.
I can't see past a United victory, but I don't think it'll be as comprehensive as we think. I think Southampton, their first game being played back at home, I really don't think we can overstate the importance of the home advantage this season. Last year, we just saw complete anarchy in terms of, unpredictability of results versus home and away. But this year, I think it'll be much more consistent in terms of home results, and the home team is favoured. And you won't see teams getting battered 9-0 at home like Southampton have been in the last couple of years. I think I'm predicting 1-0 United. Greenwood with a winner late on, 82 minutes.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a Hassan Hotel special, but unfortunately, I think those mugs will win. I'm going to go with 2-0 United. I don't care who scores. Don't really care for them. But guys, we're going to quickly go on to the next bit of football. 3 fantasy players. Last week, I went with Sergi Canos, who got the goal against Arsenal. I went for Leon Bailey, who provided the assist for John McGinn, who came off the bench to provide the assist for John McGinn. And I went with Andreas Christensen for Chelsea, who got a clean sheet. So I didn't do too badly last weekend, Connor. My three
what we should do?
Yeah,
we should start adding up the points totals. Yeah, make a little leaderboard and see. I don't know why I'm suggesting this because I've had a shocker.
10 grand takes it all at the end of the season between me and you. We could do that.
Yeah,
we could do that.
Raise the
Funded by Gav. We can do something like that. But my 3 for this week are Taki Minamino, my hot take. Kiana Hoover, I think will have a good game against Spurs, and I'm going for Ben White for Arsenal. I think it will be a massive test if Rom starts and all the players sort of floating around Werner, Havertz, Mount. It'll be interesting to see how Ben White handles them. So I'm going for those 3 players. Connor, your 3, and Louis. It's sort of a little game that me and Connor play. So if you want to give your 3 just once Connor's finished. Connor.
Just a quick one. So you picked Ben White. Does that mean you didn't give a prediction for Arsenal Chelsea? What are you saying?
1-1 Ben White to score.
Oh, you did.
For Arsenal. There you go.
Well, it's bold, and
that'll get him some points. That'll get him some points.
It will. I think it's like 7 points for a defender scoring a goal or something like that. My 3 for this week. Last week we'll revisit last week just quickly. I picked Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. Put in a good performance. Didn't get any points and goals and assists, so not a great start. Ismail Assar was another one I picked. Got a goal and an assist against.
Well, I shouldn't. That goal was a massive deflection. It shouldn't really count. It should be those kind of goals should be counted as own goals because they loop so high, and they just sort of
they have the dubious goals panel.
Dubious, absolute dubious.
For a reason, it was going in anyway. All right.
I just want to pull this comment out, Jonathan. My FPL tip is don't listen to Abby's tip. Listen, Carlos Bailey and Christensen. How many points would they have gathered? I'm going to count this up. How many points they would have gathered from last week? But they didn't do too badly this week. Look, let's wait. Minamino, Ben White, Kiana Hoover. Let's see. Go on, Connor. Your 3.
Yeah, we'll get a little graphic to slide in nice and smoothly with our leaderboard and with sort of a guest leaderboard as well. That'd be good. So yeah, I've gone for. I had Mbeumo. Ismail Assar goal and assist, and Harvey Elliott. Sadly, I thought he'd start, but
sadly he started. That's how much you know about our football club. Yeah, that you thought he'd start.
Exactly. Chelsea only for me. No, I didn't say my 3. Give me time. I didn't say my 3. So I'm going for Anwar El Ghazi. I think with Bertrand Traore being out, I'm going to go for hidden gems. You were suggesting some slightly obvious players. You were suggesting Salah in the warm up as well. El Ghazi for me. I think Bertrand Traore is out injured. They need someone on the left wing to replace Grealish. I know they played Bailey on the left weirdly last week, but with Traore being out, I think El Ghazi will fill the gap and they'll shift Bailey onto the right. I'm going to go for Pascal Struijk of Leeds, centre half. There's been some debate about whether he will take the Belgian or Dutch nationality this week. I know he's eligible for both. I think he's a good, promising young defender as well with a solid left foot and good ability to play out from the back. So I think he'll be worth a lot of money in the next 2-3 years. And my final player will be Pablo Fornals from West Ham. They're playing Leicester on the Monday evening, late kickoff. I think he's going to be quite a regular fixture in the West Ham side. So good one to fit in your team.
He hasn't got going yet, has he? From Villarreal, he was a really good player, really impressive in the season that he had at Villarreal. He just hasn't got going, but this is his second season, isn't it, for Pablo Fornals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they bought him
third season, is it? Okay,
third.
So Yeah, so
Ooh.
it could be. Thank you, Louis, for the start there. But yeah, it could be his time to shine. Louis, your three for this weekend?
So I'm gonna go for, basically, if anyone knows me, my tactic to winning fantasy league is basically defenders all the way, and just have Salah and Bruno, and you'll be fine. So I'm gonna go for boring, but Ruben Diaz, because I think he's guaranteed a clean sheet against Norwich. I'm gonna go for Pontus Jansson for Brentford, because I could see them keeping a clean sheet as well. I didn't think Palace were particularly impressive at all. And for a bit of a forward-thinking, not even forward-thinking, I'm just going to go for Shane Duffy. Right.
Oh, he's back at Brighton, isn't he? Because he was on loan to Celtic.
Yeah, Beltman's in isolation or quarantine, so he's not playing. And so he'll start in the back three, and I could see them keeping a clean sheet at home to Watford. So yeah, I'm going to go for those three, and if I had to pick an attacker, I would go for Ben Rama, because I actually thought against Wolves, Leicester conceded quite a lot of chances. I know they kept a clean sheet, but they conceded quite a lot of chances. So I could see them doing the same, and I think West Ham will be a bit more sort of to take the most of that. So I could see them going over and Ben Rama getting some returns.
Yeah, I think West Ham will be an interesting team to watch this season, because they do have quite... They've got vociferous fans, of course. They do have quite a sort of I don't know. They got a talented attacking line, don't they? You know, you think of Jared Bowen. I know Liverpool fans will shudder at the mere mention of his name, but I think Jared Bowen's a talented player and he gets goals. Said Benrahma is a brilliant player. Tricky,
I think this season is the season for Benrahma to really shine. I think he came last season. But with fans, I think he'll be a top player. He's a fantastic talent at Brentford, and I think he'll just go strength to strength.
I can't figure Mikel Antonio out, because at points I think he's utterly useless,
and then he becomes effective. Yeah,
but then very effective. His goal against Newcastle was so well taken, such a good finish. And it's like points where I'm like, are you good or are you utterly shite? I don't know.
He started off as a attacking right back as well, Mikel Antonio. He can play a few positions.
He was a winger, a striker, a right back, like a wing back. He's played everywhere. I just can't figure him out whether I think he's good or not.
Right, guys, the main event, and the not just the reason that I brought Louis on, but Louis, this is your field, isn't it? SummerSlam 2021. I was expecting you to be next to me so we could host the show together with a few beers, a few tequilas, a bit of, you know, what they smoke out here. But you know, unfortunately you couldn't make the trip down because of, you know, regulations and whatnot. But you know, I'm fortunate enough to be going there tomorrow. I am excited for it. I have had a little sort of gap year, as people say, but gap few years from the wrestling world. I still watch my Royal Rumbles and my WrestleManias, but I'm really intrigued in this. We've got some fantastic lineup of, you know, in-depth sort of wrestling matches. And guys, look, before we go on, and Conor, I know you're not a big wrestling fan. We know it's not real, guys. We know it's not real.
Wait, what?
We know it's not real, but we love the entertainment. You know, look, these are still supreme athletes, aren't they, Louis? I mean, the things that they do, you know, I've seen some crazy sort of athletes. There's a wrestler, I think it's Ricochet. Some of the things that he does with his legs, he should be on the US Olympic teams alongside Simone Biles. He just fascinates me, the things that he does. And you obviously got Jeff Hardy before him, and obviously Shawn Michaels before him. But what are your thoughts going to SummerSlam? What are your big sort of matches that you're looking forward to? And you'll be staying up late, I presume, as well tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'll be covering it for Give Me Sport, so doing work over there. It's going to be WWE's WrestleMania this year, which is their biggest show. Yeah. Because of like the fact that WrestleMania this year was it was a big show. There were 25,000 fans there. Normally they try to get like 100,000 because of COVID. They couldn't, but this is going to be their big show. 60,000 fans. It's going to be huge. John Cena's coming in. Obviously, I mean, while he's doing this run, Hollywood megastar.
Louis, is this sort of, are we seeing sort of the end of John Cena as a wrestler and periodically coming into sort of some events during the year, a bit like The Rock did, until Rock sort of phased out completely and then came years after? Is this what John Cena now, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of been that way for the last couple of years. But I mean, being as big as he is now, I think he's a little bit. He's obviously not as big as The Rock, so his filming schedule allows him to do more. But yeah, I think he sort of person he'll do 1 or 2 events a year, maybe go a year without, but then do 2 events the next year. He's kind of, but I think there's value in that as well. Like having someone like him whose Suicide Squad's out while he's appearing on like Raw and SmackDown, it's a big coup. So yeah, for me, hats off to them. It should be a good show. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, but as this comment here has said, CM Punk obviously huge.
There's a few CM Punk shouts coming out, guys. There's a few. Carlo Donovan, who's one of the regulars as well. Evening, Carl. Thank you for tuning in. CM Punk to debut at AEW Rampage tonight. CM Punk, I've got just a quick one, Louis. I've got a lot of respect for him because he made that transition from WWE to MMA. I'm a massive UFC fan, have been for a number of years now, and it didn't work out for him. You know, he lost his first fight to Mickey Gall, and he lost his second fight too. It hasn't worked out for him, but I respect him so much for even trying. You know, there was talk before of Kurt Angle transitioning, never happened. We've obviously seen with Brock, who later became champion when he beat Randy Couture. But CM Punk, there's a lot of talk of him joining Tony Khan's federation or company, isn't it? It is Tony Khan's, or it's his son's company, AEW. Do you want to quickly dispel the rumors or confirm the rumors that he is in fact signing with AEW, an exclusive on the Sports Unplugged?
I mean, it's widely reported, widely rumored, speculated that he's going to be there tonight at AEW Rampage in Chicago, his home state. I've heard he's going to be there. It's a huge show. AEW has essentially said he's going to be there without saying he's going to be there. They've kind of done this weird thing where they haven't shut down the rumors. They've said, you know what to expect from tonight's show, kind of to say like, yes, he'll be there, but we don't want to say it right now. It's a huge coup. He has been out of wrestling for 7 years because he'll never come back. People didn't think he'd ever come back. So to see him back tonight is going to be absolutely huge. I'm staying up for the show, doing media afterwards. So it's going to be very big. For me, that'll be the biggest thing of the weekend, to be honest, which given SummerSlam is going to be pretty big. It says something because I just genuinely think it's really, really big deal to have him here. So, yeah.
Just getting a super chat in from Delwyn Jones, Delboy, who's a regular as well. Thanks, Delboy. I stopped watching WWE since 2013. I returned to watch WWE WrestleMania last April. My God, Roman Reigns has improved a lot and he's a different animal. And I want to get into this main event, Roman Reigns versus John Cena, because we know Roman Reigns from my time, from what I remember, was part of the Shield with 2 other, Seth Rollins, who I've got tremendous respect for, who's also on the card against Edge. I'm looking forward to that fight wrestling match. And then we've got the other chap, I forget his name all the time, but he's gone off to AEW. What's the name against Louis?
It was Dean Ambrose. Now
Dean Ambrose. That's John Motson is his real name. Is it John Motson or Moxley?
John Moxley, yeah. His real name's I think John Good or something, but yeah, he goes by John Moxley.
Sweet. And okay, Roman Reigns. Talk to us, Louis. Has he come leaps and bounds like Delboy's suggesting? Is he the one who's sort of taking that mantelpiece and now sort of starting to dominate, and it's sort of the Roman Reigns era for the past sort of 18 months, would you say?
Yeah, for the last kind of year, actually, he returned at SummerSlam last year. He was off with COVID, not with COVID, but he was off because of COVID. He's got he's battled leukemia. So he took some time off at the beginning of the pandemic, I think, while people were still figuring things out. Came back and has been a different animal. He's turned kind of into a villain, which everyone wanted him to be, but WWE never did. And he's turned into that and is just killing it right now, kind of playing into his Samoan heritage, which has been really cool to see. He's doing great work. A lot of respect for him and the work he's been doing. So, yeah, I'd say right now he is the guy in WWE. He's the guy that's leading the company. And will be leading the company for the foreseeable future. But I think he could be like John Cena in a few years, where we're seeing him in Hollywood. I really do think he's that good.
Chris Brack makes a really good point. I think I've got room service here. I'm going to have to quickly dash and just let them know. Chris Brack, 1 minute. Hold on, guys. Conor, do you just want to quickly just take this?
Yep, can do. Even though, as someone mentioned, I think it was Barry earlier in the chat, grown men wrestling in lycra. Not for me, so I can't
so I'll
say.
Tell you what. I'll tell you a funny story while he's sorting his room service. So I tell people when they ask what you do for a living, I can't really be bothered to tell them I cover wrestling. because it's just a pain in the ass. You get the questions, do you know it's fake? And I'm like, no, I cover it for a living and I think it's real. So I say to people, I'm like, I think I went for US sports writer, the only cover wrestling. Combat sports writer, I also only cover wrestling. It's just easier. You just avoid the questions.
But is there any combat?
Yeah. I tell you what. So for kind of like a training day thing and like a video, I went to train for a day, and it's hard work. Like I felt it for a week afterwards. It's physical. It is physical.
Yeah, I mean, when you take those kind of body shots, sorry guys, I have to tell the room service to come back in a bit. Look, when they take those hits are not soft. I mean, you know, I'm sure I could do a little fundraiser between Louis and Conor, you know, a fundraising charity match, and you'll take some hits, Conor. I'm telling you, you'll take some hits. He'll body slam you, and you think, nah, this ain't fake. This is real as it gets. It is real as it gets. It's an entertainment sport, and Chris Pratt, going back to WWE, the point of WWE, etc., is to have storylines which get fans to buy in, right? The current product is suffering a lack of this. AEW being pop-up competition should give them a kick up the backside. Chris, please mind your language. My mother watches this, so I can't say that last word. But just a quick one on this. Are AEW, because we've seen this before during the 90s, 21st century, early ECW, we had the AWA back in the day. Kevin O'Sullivan will remember. NWA, and then we've got WCW, who nearly got it right with their product, nearly got it right, apart from the end bit. Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff was serious. They pumped a lot of money. They persuaded Hogan to come over, you know, Bret Hart to come over, ex-wrestlers to come over to the WCW brand. Are we seeing AEW, or is this just like a little cycle that Vince will again prevail and succeed in, Louis? Or do we see AEW providing healthy competition for years to come?
It depends on the way you look at it, right? In terms of wrestling competition, sure, people enjoy AEW more. Could I see AEW maybe beating WWE in viewership for a few shows? Sure. AEW is a great show. It's enjoyable. For me, it's a better wrestling product. But in terms of a business, I don't think people appreciate how huge WWE is. Like, WWE is never going to be beaten as a top wrestling product. It's just got the company is enormous. The record profits that this company brings in, it's publicly traded, it's absolutely huge. So in terms of a business stance, I don't think AEW is competition, but in terms of wrestling, sure. And I think it's healthy competition at the end of the day. Neither's going to go out of business anytime soon. Like Tony Khan is obviously the owner. I think it's Shade Khan, who's
Jackson Jaguars, isn't it?
Yeah, Jackson Jaguars, and Fulham as well. Yep. So a man with a lot of money. And has shown no hesitation using that money, and fair play to him. So yeah, it's all healthy competition. Very good to see.
Sam Thundy comes with a comment as well. It's like most movies are fake or not true story, etc. Wrestling is another form of it, but because it's a weekly programming, it can make it more enjoyable if the company set up the right feuds and matches, etc. I think that's what it is, the right matches and feuds. For me, Louis, the feuds back in the Attitude Era, Kevin O'Sullivan prompted to it, and he's made a comment of it as well. For me, it was that generation of DX, the Hart Foundation, Pillman when he was in WWE, unfortunately, you know, passed away. That was like the Nation of Domination you had. That was some crazy storylines. You know, they took it to the limit, didn't they? Especially D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels, because he, you know, his off the ring sort of antics really played a part, and obviously we'll maybe touch upon the Montreal Screwjob, but back then, that was quite serious. Have they sort of toned that down now with other materials?
Yeah, incredibly.
Is it still?
So. It's all a PG product now, where everything's about sponsors and advertisers. I get why they do it. Like, I mean, yes, a raunchy storyline will do great numbers in terms of viewership, but in terms of advertisers and the business side, it doesn't do well because no advertiser wants to kind of promote their product on a show that's got sex on it and got violent, intense man and woman violence, for example, and that kind of thing. So yeah, for me, it's a different time, and I think people, the quicker you appreciate it's a different time and why WWE is making those decisions, the better it is. But yeah, the Attitude Era, it felt real, and I'm sure you can kind of like attest this. If the storylines felt real, whereas now they're a little bit hokey, a little bit sort of like comedic and sort of slapstick. But yeah, the Attitude Era was the time to be. And I mean, as the comment earlier mentioned, TV shows are fake as well. Like when people say wrestling's fake, like in essence, it's like watching any other TV show, but you've got sort of a mix of TV and sort of like, don't want to say like drama, but like sport and like kind of theater in that sense. Like it's very entertaining, kind of the storylines as well as the kind of in-ring product. You got something for everyone. So yeah, SummerSlam should be a very good show.
And your prediction for Roman Reigns versus John Cena, because there's another 2 fights I want to quickly touch upon. What's your prediction tomorrow? Do you think John Cena might win the title tomorrow, or is it going to be
Roman Reigns? I think John Cena's been brought in as a big name, but also to put him over. So I'm going for Roman Reigns for sure.
Conor, Reigns versus Cena. What do you see? Do you see that? What's that move that he does, John Cena?
The attitude adjustment, the big one.
The attitude
adjustment. Used to be the FU, but now because we're PG, we go for attitude adjustment.
Didn't Brock Lesnar do something similar? But he would swerve him round, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he had the F5, which is basically
F5. There you go.
Kind of like spin him round.
There you go. See, I still know my little bit, and then he's got Suplex City that he owns, doesn't he, Brock Lesnar? Which he took from another wrestler, but we won't mention his name on here. But Conor, Roman Reigns versus John Cena.
Mate, I might as well just flip a coin because my knowledge extends not very far. We'll put it that way.
I mean, you know who John Cena is, right?
Yeah, you can't see me. Don't worry about that. Who doesn't know who John Cena is? I'll go with Cena just for his legendary status.
But Louis, I want to come back to this because legitimately you can actually place sporting bets on this now, because there was a fella who literally bet it was a story here, and people that think that I'm lying, I'll put the post up on my Twitter handle later on. It was a guy who bet Undertaker would beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania because obviously he had this streak, didn't he? And then he lost it, and he literally lost like $60,000-$70,000. Is this true? You can still bet on like wrestling matches and the outcome?
So I don't, because I mean I kind of know what's going to happen sometimes, which I think is insider trading. You can't really do that. But I used to, before I knew anything. I used to bet before, like I started reporting on it. Yeah, to be honest, it shouldn't be legal. It really shouldn't, because at the end of the day, this is one man's decision. It's not like you're betting on live sport where anything can happen. This is literally being decided by one man. Like, he's not making any money out of it. But I don't know. I just think it's risky to bet on it. But at the end of the day, you can bet on loads of weird things. So yeah, you can bet on them. You can bet on them like it's a sport. You can bet on it like you can place a bet on it, like you could place a bet on the Pacquiao fight tomorrow.
Got it. Joshua Pritchard is one of the regulars. Shawn Michaels the GOAT. For me, he is the GOAT. I loved Shawn Michaels. I loved everything about him, even when he was part of the Rockers with Marty Jannetty. Then he went on to his sort of single stint. I think he had, what was her name? Sensational Sherry by his side. And then he obviously got Big Daddy Cool Diesel in that run leading up to WrestleMania. I know they split, and then he had that WrestleMania run when he came out with Jenny McCarthy, and then he came out with Pamela Anderson. Then he won it in the Iron Man match, which I think to this day is probably still the best sort of moment in my life. I was a huge Shawn Michaels fan, and I loved it. I think he had Jose Lothario, didn't he, as his sort of mentor coach from Texas, San Antonio.
Tell you what, this knowledge I'm impressed with.
Yeah, no, Louis, I'm telling you, I was a massive fan. My uncle, who's sadly no longer with us, he was a massive WWF fan. Would record on VHS tapes and give me those tapes, on the Monday morning. He would record them. And watched every from Survivor Series, you name it. I've got great knowledge back in the day. But Shawn Michaels, for me, brilliant. It was a shame because back then, in your house events never used to come on TV. And we would only find out on the Monday Night Raw, or even SmackDown wasn't around then. It was these sort of Saturday shows, they used to Superstars and whatnot. So we used to get results from that. But, he was incredible. Quick word on Shawn. And who was your favorite, Louis?
I mean, my favorite is, and I think he is the best ever, is Daniel Bryan. He's a newer one, granted. But
that's the one, isn't it? Yes.
Ric Flair as well, I'll put in there. Got a lot of love for Ric Flair. I've interviewed him. Absolutely top guy. Crazy experience. But yeah, he's a great guy. Shawn Michaels is great though, and like he's doing some like coaching stuff now, which is great to see. I think is very much kind of sorted himself out from he found faith and stuff, and he was going through a bad ride until he met his missus, and he's been clean for quite a while. But so for you, Daniel Bryan for you then, Louis? Yeah, I just think he's incredible. Like being able to be villain, hero, anything in the ring, absolutely sensational. Yeah, for me, he's the best ever. Chris Jericho's up there as well.
Jericho, yeah, I think he's the biggest pop even to this day for me was when he had that little skit with The Rock on his debut show, the Millennium Countdown Y2J. It was absolutely amazing. Conor, I don't even think you were born when Jericho had that entrance against The Rock.
Well, how old wasn't it, Conor?
I'm 23, so 15. Most likely.
You were born. You were born.
He's up to his usual tricks.
Yeah.
In fairness, I was not born when that happened.
Oh, so you.
I mean, Josh has got it to a T. Honestly, these guys could be speaking Portuguese for all I know.
We could go all day with this, Conor. Literally, we could.
Yeah,
but
I could not.
Another significant name, Louis. And I still can't believe he's fighting. I didn't really like him at WCW. I thought he was a sort of the cheaper version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Bill Goldberg against Bobby Lashley. And again, respect for Bobby Lashley because he tried again a little stint in MMA as well. And he's come back obviously now. Bobby Lashley's been there for what? The best part of a year now as well? Best part of a year and a half?
Well, it's kind of a weird one because he joined in 2018 but was doing nothing. Like nothing. And then over the last year has really picked it up. He's WWE champion now, so fair play to him. But yeah, he's fighting Goldberg, who's like 50 odd, but still one of the top names, comes back out for a couple of matches a year. I think this will be really fun. It won't be anything sort of like technically savvy or be a great wrestling match. It'll just be kind of like hard hitting, intense. So
they're a bit short and sweet. They're a bit short and sweet, aren't they, as well? These fights at Goldberg, and I know he fought with the Undertaker in Saudi. I think it was a show, and he absolutely made a hash of it, wasn't it, Louis?
It was awful. He concussed himself early on, was bleeding, and these are two old guys who shouldn't be in the ring with each other. Like, if you've got an old guy, put them in there with someone young that can make them look good and protect them, and that's not what they did. It could have got ugly. It could have got very ugly. People could have been dropped on their heads. So there was a genuine worry from a lot of people during the match that this was going to go bad. But yeah, Goldberg, Bobby Lashley, as you said, should be quite short, quite sweet, should be quite good fun.
And another one as well, that double, I know that Rey Mysterio, for me, Rey Mysterio in WCW is still the same Rey Mysterio, that same face, that same baby face, because I know he was with Kidman. Who was that Kidman guy? He had a first name.
Billy Kidman,
another great athlete back in WCW. I still remember visions of like Rey Mysterio, Kidman, that UV2'd, that sort of lightweight division. And now I only heard last week that Rey Mysterio has a son and he's wrestling as well. Dominic Mysterio. Is this legit?
They are tag team champions together.
And that's that's no kayfabe. They are legitimately father and son.
Yep. And you know what? It's lovely to see.
Yeah.
Like it's just like people like to kind of poo-poo it a little bit, but this guy's getting to wrestle on national television with his dad. Like, it must be pretty cool for him. So you know what? Fair play to him if they're happy, which they seem to be. Congrats.
And his son's a legitimate. Is he a high flyer as well? Was he?
Yeah. I mean, he's much taller than Ray.
Yeah.
But Ray can still go. Like
even I'm taller than Ray, Lou, and I'm 4'5" on my best when I'm wearing my heels. But yeah, I think everyone's taller than Ray. But yeah,
this is true. But yeah, he's still a top guy, and his son's looking like he's got a lot of potential. Young guy, 24, but looks like he's got a lot of potential.
Brilliant. And it's WWE has become very diverse because there's one of my people, being Punjabi and stuff. It's great to see Jinder Mahal in the wrestling world as well. And Connor's like, what the hell are they talking about? But Jinder Mahal against Drew McIntyre, and I believe Drew McIntyre is from Scotland. He had won the championship just not so long ago. But now, is this a mid-card sort of match, or is this potentially building up to a main event for Drew McIntyre again for having another run towards Royal Rumble?
Yeah, it's kind of like an upper mid-card, kind of like one of those ones that's not a main event. It's not a mid-card. It's kind of in the middle. Yeah, these guys have got history together, both kind of in real life and on TV. Should be a good match. Yeah. Jinder Mahal is great, and WWE is very diverse at the moment, which is kudos to them. I mean, the champions, you look at them, you've got on Raw, you've got Bobby Lashley, who's African American, you've got Nikki Cross, who's Scottish, you've got the tag team champions as an African American guy and a white guy. You've got the US champion,
Usos, the brothers Jimmy.
You've got Sheamus, who's Irish. You've got like on SmackDown as well. You've got Bianca Belair, who's the women's champion, who's African American. You've got we had Japanese champions last year. we had. It's nice as well. I mean, Mysterios were champions. They're obviously Latin Americans. It's nice to have like a diverse mix of people within WWE, and you are kind of seeing that more. I mean, this year we had the first two African American women main eventing a pay-per-view, the major pay-per-view, which was great to see.
Brilliant. I want to come to this. See, now I'm getting right into it now. I'm so excited now. But Matt Riddle, I want to give him a shout out because he was a UFC fighter, very unfairly dismissed because he got caught smoking weed and he failed a drug test. But Matt Riddle actually had a very decent UFC record as well. But he fights with bare feet, I think, Louis, and I think that's still true. But AJ Styles, who's a legend, an absolute legend of the game. AJ Styles and Omos, if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know anything about him. Versus Randy Orton, the legend killer that is Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle. Talk to me about Matt Riddle. How's his transition? Because I think he was NXT, then he made a transition to WWE. Now he's a mainstay, is he?
Exactly. Yeah, he's one of their big guys. Very, very good wrestler. Uses a lot of that kind of MMA style, that kind of amateur style that you see a lot of these guys use. Very entertaining guy as well. He's kind of looks like your typical stoner, and they play into that, which is quite nice. Him and Randy Orton been doing some great stuff. And Omos, the guy who's tagging with AJ Styles, is a former basketball player. He's 7 foot, I think, and legit 7 foot. Absolutely huge guy that they've done very well protecting. So that's actually probably one of my most anticipated matches at the pay-per-view.
Brilliant. There's something that coming from Ghost. I perfected the sharpshooter and cobra clutch on my younger brother. I think everyone who ever had, like, I used to have younger sort of cousin brothers and whatnot, and we'd always sort of like do silly stuff on the bedrooms and stuff, like wrestling matches and a 24/7 attitude. I remember there was a hardcore title 24/7 where they would go outside the stadium, schools, and just fight, and brilliant storylines. But there's one, from Ghost. I perfected the sharpshooter and cobra clutch on my younger brother. Any moves that you used to, Louis, do maybe on your friends, or a lion salt maybe from Jericho? Or...
Not often lion salt. I can't do that. Often anything submission based on my brother. I've got perfected the rear naked choke. It's quite good. Just sneak up behind him.
Never tried the Bob Backlund one, the chicken wing. I think you called it.
It's quite hard to do that. Quite hard to do that. I often sharpshooter, figure four, those kind of things. So you can just slap on quite quickly.
Conor, you used to be a bit of an athlete, a hurricane runner, I believe, and somersaults from the top rope, I believe. Is that true, Conor?
Yeah, mate. I mean, used to. Come on, show me some respect.
Drop kick.
I'm still at the top of my performance levels. Come on.
This is the move, the cross-face chicken ring. I remember Bob Backlund in the Survivor Series, I think, against Bret Hart. It was a submission or a throw in the white towel match, and he had it on Bret Hart. And I know, it's fake, but back then when you're a kid, you're thinking, shit, how is he surviving this? Bret Hart was in it for like 10, 11, 12 minutes. So no, it was crazy back then. 450 splash, is that a move? I know Rey Mysterio's got one. What's the one that he calls it when he comes off the rope and he sort of swings by? 619. Guys, you know what? That's been a fantastic talk on wrestling. We'll quickly touch upon boxing because I know Conor's getting very agitated.
There we go.
We could have gone for another. We could have gone for another sort of hour easy on the wrestling, but I do want to jump on this fight. It should have been Manny Pacquiao. This is the boxing event that's happening tomorrow at the T-Mobile Arena. It should have been Manny. I paid good money to watch Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence, but I still am going to this because Manny Pacquiao is one of my greats. I love him. I love Freddie Roach, one of my favorite fighters back in the days of when he fought Marquez, the battles with Marco Antonio Barrera Morales. Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas. Talk to me, Conor. I want to give you your airtime now.
And we're back. Yes, as people were saying in the comments, I was glazing over a little bit. I was drifting off, having to pinch myself every now and then. But we're back. We're back in the room talking about real sport. So, very grateful for that. Hey, keep it stem. We've had your wrestling time.
Okay, I'll let you go.
No, I think it's going to be a very tight fight, in fact. And I was watching clips earlier to try to sort of sway myself either side. And I've struggled to put a finger on who's going to win. It will definitely be a tight one, that's for sure. The only thing that for me will be the decisive factor will be those early rounds. In every fight, early rounds always set the tone, and they sort of set the tone for what's to come. I think especially in this kind of bout when Pacquiao's a little older, he's taken 2 years out. There are so many unknowns about how this will commence. So I think those early rounds will set the tone and will give us an indication of what's to come.
So I was going
to say, if Ugas can get the upper hand in those rounds and get those jabs off and hurt Pacquiao and make him a bit more reluctant, maybe to engage or maybe make Pacquiao get caught that little bit more, then we could see Ugas grow into this fight. But for me, I think it'll be a cagey opening, and I think Pacquiao will take it to begin with. There is just such a huge question mark as to whether he'll be big enough. He'll be good enough, after such a big break. But we all know, Pacquiao's a high work rate fighter. He'll stay bouncing around if his fitness levels are up, which I don't doubt they will be. So for me personally, I can't. It's so difficult to predict, but I'm going for a split decision with Pacquiao winning on points, something sort of maybe 115, 113, 116, 112, around that sort of, that sort of closeness there.
Louis?
I got to be honest with you guys. I am not the biggest boxing fan. I watch, basically, I'm a heavyweight guy. Give me Anthony Joshua. Being a Brit, we love him. Tyson Fury, who I genuinely think is, I think because he's become a bit of like I wouldn't say a meme, but because he's a bit of a jokester, people don't appreciate just how good he is. Mm-hmm. Still think if you put him in a ring with Anthony Joshua, I can't see Fury not winning. Deontay Wilder as well. Those three are kind of having their kind of like feels like in wrestling we'd call it a triple threat when you just want to stick all three of them in the ring and let them go to town on each other. But yeah, for me, I'll watch boxing when it's on, and kind of like when the big fights are on, kind of with the big names. I'll probably watch Manny Pacquiao because I'll be up, kind of covering for SummerSlam. But yeah, for me, I prefer the fake stuff with the guys in the short lycra pants fighting each other. That's what. But no, like boxing, I can appreciate. And I actually used to box for a while, and kind of like when I went in there for the first time, you just think it's going to be easy. They just punch a bag, but it's like no, the footwork aspect and the technical aspect was something that I never appreciated how hard it actually is until you do it, and I did it at a very low level. So yeah, these guys that train day in, day out, everything from diet to their fitness to their technical aspect to their mental aspect, it's incredibly impressive. So yeah, listen, Vegas is going to be making up all of the money that it lost during the pandemic over this weekend.
Tomorrow. Sure. Yeah. Conor, I don't think it's going to be close. I think Pacquiao wins this quite comfortably, actually.
Comfortably?
I think it'll be a unanimous. Yeah, I think Pac-Man, I think he just looks after himself all year round. He's got a great team. And yes, sometimes styles and characteristics sometimes can be dodgy because Juan Manuel Marquez always had Pacquiao's number. But it's sometimes different styles and stances and the way the fight's set up. I think Pacquiao will beat Yordenis Ugas. And I'm really bummed that we're missing out on Errol Spence and Pacquiao. I think it would have been a tricky fight for Errol Spence. I think a lot of people are saying Errol Spence would have been favorite, but I think it would have been a very close fight. And I'm tipping Pacquiao to win it tomorrow. And it's one of those sort of goals like I've seen Mayweather and Canelo out in Vegas. I've seen Conor and Khabib. And this was sort of the last sort of, athlete that I wanted to watch before he retires. So Manny Pacquiao, for me, just to watch him tomorrow live, it's just another one ticked off the box. So I want to go with the Pacquiao unanimous. I actually think Usyk will be a major player in the heavyweight division, Louis. Mm-hmm. I think he will trouble Joshua. I think he will beat Joshua as well. And I think he'll become a thorn into that. Will it eventually happen? You got two great Brits, Fury, Joshua. I think Fury unanimously beats Joshua. I still think Joshua's quite limited in terms of his movement from his shoulders. I think he's still a little bit robust. I think Tyson Fury on his day, when he's mentally right, when he's psychologically in the right frame of mind, he's one of the greatest that we're seeing. And it's unfortunate that he doesn't get enough praise, but he literally is something out of this world. Tyson Fury, he makes things so look easy. And the way he disposed of Wilder, even in the first Forget that knockout when he got up like Undertaker. He should have won that fight even with that knockdown.
Yeah.
But the second fight is absolutely majestic.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the boxing gods just don't want Joshua and Fury to fight. Everything just, it always seems like stuff's getting in the way. But for me, and it's a weird thing to say for Joshua, but he's almost in too good shape, I think. Like, he doesn't look like a heavyweight boxer. Like, I think is kind of like his shape and the fact he's so lean, not even lean, the fact he's so big, so like a massive frame, doesn't always work to his benefit. And I think that, as you say, put him in there against the best heavyweight in the world or the best heavyweights in the world, and you might see him exposed and kind of his limitations highlighted, which kind of you referenced earlier.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Sullivan's made some great points. Joshua will need Fury more than Fury needs Joshua. 100%. I think Joshua needs that validation. I think in the match, because he was knocked out by Andy Ruiz, that will always sit on the back of his mind. It was a bit like Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was such an effective boxer. I wouldn't call him a great boxer, but he was so effective. But that knockdown by Oliver McCall, that first knockdown by Oliver McCall, it was like, he's always going to be now that sort of thorn. And then he dominated. He beat the David Chewers. He beat the Vitalis. He beat, obviously, Tyson. He beat Holyfield in the second fight. But with Lewis, it happened again against Hasim Rahman. He gets knocked out again. And then again, he's had to work and build that confidence up. And then, obviously, he got the knockout as well. Sometimes it is that one punch. And sometimes, stylistically, it can just catch you out. Like we saw with Ruiz. Ruiz against Joshua wasn't a fluke. Let's not beat around the bush.
And it wasn't a one punch. It wasn't a one punch. Like you say, he boxed his way to the title.
And he took hits as well, Conor. He's the one who got knocked down first against Joshua. He took hits. Yeah. And the size of Ruiz, you'd think he's never gonna, he's not gonna trouble Joshua, because it was banded about, wasn't it? Joshua's debut in America, go and get a knockdown in the first three, go and lighten up the crowd and become this next big thing. But unfortunately, and boxing does have a tendency to do this, to throw spanners in the works, like Buster Douglas Tyson. We can go back in the day. Literally knocked down Joshua, and I was like, what? This guy who eats Snickers part of his diet, and who hasn't got a chiseled body like Joshua has, knocks him down. Like, anything is possible in boxing. That's what the beauty is. Unfortunately, with boxing, what it is the politics that get played. Bob Arum and the different divisions. We've got Eddie Hearn. We've got Frank Warren. We had, what was his name? Sean Maloney back in the day, who was Lewis's manager. Was it Sean Maloney? It was something Maloney. But it's dictated by politics, isn't it, Louis, boxing? And is that what needs to be sort of cleansed in the boxing world, to have these super fights when they're at their peak? Like Pacquiao Mayweather should have happened years before, like people have commented on the comments, like it should have happened way before. But is this something that needs to be eradicated, like this pulling power in boxing?
It's not even in boxing, it's in everywhere. You get politics in everywhere. It's in football, it's in wrestling, it's in boxing, it's in other forms of entertainment. It's unavoidable at this point. At the end of the day, these boxers are important, and what they do is important, but they are to make money for the likes of Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn knows that, and it's all a monopoly. And you know what? Fair play to them. They're in this position. Fair play to them. But I think the quicker you appreciate that there is a monopoly and it's kind of unavoidable, the happier you'll be.
Brilliant. And on that note, Conor, is there anything else you want to talk before I just cover the quick sort of news for today? Is there anything that you want to mention?
I'll do a quick touch on the cricket, because I'm so disappointed by it still. Not sure if anyone's too invested in it, but it was a disappointment. England obviously lost the second test to India at Lords. It was disappointing because India set themselves up with a really good total in the first innings, and then England managed to claw their way back with a really, really brilliant 170, I think it was, from Joe Root, the only stellar batsman in the England side. So it looked like England had a really good chance. They came into it with a lead of about 100 and something or other. And it looked like they had a great chance, especially once they got a few early wickets from India's top order. Again, Kohli struggling, still, I think it's over almost 2 years now since he got his last century in any form of the game.
Yeah, so COVID for the best part of a year and a half. I
know, but agenda's got to fly. So, but it's been about 2 years since he's got his last century. He got a 20 and a 40, I think, in the two innings over this one. And India, again, we got some really early wickets and we looked like we were gaining a real stronghold in the game. But then their tail order just produced a brilliant run. I think it was Mohammad Shah. Was it Shami?
Jasprit Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah.
Shami.
Bumrah and Shami, Mohammad Shami, put up like a 90-run partnership with the final wicket, which was mental, especially considering there were some handbags being thrown from Josh Butler. There was a bit of some fiery words exchanged, which was brilliant to see. Everyone loves it. You know, you can't knock that. And then, England just collapsed. We had 2 double-digit scorers. Joe Root top scored with 33. And I think Josh Butler put in one of the performances for the ages, really, in the worst kind of way. He was up there for about 100 and something balls and he scored 20 runs. He got dismissed, prodding at a ball outside off stump that you should never reach for after being in for 120 balls. It was horrendous. And I don't know why they still try him in red ball cricket. But yeah, disappointing performance from England. We are, as Midnight Toker says in the comments, we are missing a big personality and a big run scorer in the middle order like Ben Stokes. We're missing a solid opening partnership that we haven't had since probably Cook and Strauss. And without those early foundations, if you're getting... I saw a stat online the other day and it said that Burns and Sibley, our 2 openers, 33% of their partnerships together have been dismissed by I think it was the 2nd or 3rd over, which means that one of them has got out for a duck in 33% of their innings. It's shambolic. How is that our best opening partnership in the entire country? I do not know. But disappointing performance from the Englishmen all round. Hopefully we'll improve into the 3rd test, but my optimism is not high in the slightest.
Before we close that, Louis, were you a bit of a cricketer, bit of a batsman, right-handed?
Yeah, lot of home runs in my day.
Oh, brilliant. What was your batting average? Must have been in the high 50s, no?
300 once, I think I got.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Great to hear.
I did that at Lords.
There's a quick question because I know Joshua Pritchard, David Hay is in fact boxing on he's fighting on the same undercard of Oscar De La Hoya. I don't know who Oscar De La Hoya is fighting, but it's out in LA in Englewood. They're fighting in LA next month. Inglewood, yeah, you're right. Sorry, Inglewood. They're fighting next month in LA. I'm trying to get tickets for that because David Hay was one of my favorite boxers, funny enough. I thought he shouldn't have fought against Bellew with his Achilles, the second fight. But no, David Hay is making a return. I think it's a one-off, though. But, guys, that's been a great show. Louis, plug your stuff. Where can we find you?
Yeah, it's at the Louis Dangoor on Twitter. That's Dangoor, DANGOR, and Louis, LOUIS. And I'm at Give Me Sport doing all WWE coverage. So head on over there for your WWE and AEW news.
Brilliant. And guys, I've just got 2 notes. Fabinho unfortunately lost his father, so prayers and thoughts for Fabinho. And we're still doing the Sienna. We're trying to get this girl over to America for her treatment. Please go on lfcdt.com/Sienna, where you can make a contribution, and let's get this girl. I think it is in November that we're trying to get her over for treatment. So let's try and push as much as we can. Conor, final words. Looking forward to next week. We've got the Belgian Grand Prix, Verstappen and Hamilton. The Spa Grand Prix always throws up fireworks. Oh, special mention. I don't know if I did it. I'm pretty sure I did, but special mention to Jesse Marsch, the American manager, got off to his first start for Leipzig today, 4-0. So quick mention for him. Conor, do you want to get the closing credits?
Yeah, we'll do. Just one quick word. You're never going to convince everyone you're American, Abby. No matter how many times you shout out Pulisic and you shout out Jesse Marsch, you're an English boy at heart and you know it.
Of course I am.
Yeah, but brilliant show, lads. Louis, pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward, very much looking forward to Spa next week, actually, and getting some more drama, seeing how the Hamilton-Verstappen rivalry resurfaces. And, of course, as Barry mentions in the comments, Chelsea-Liverpool, the big one. We will have some fireworks over that one for sure. Looking forward to it. Another brilliant show, lads. Great to speak with you all, and we'll speak again soon.
Brilliant, guys. Good evening. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you next Friday. Thank you.